In this video, I'm about to reveal 35 frozen waffle brands you should never put in your cart, along with the reasons why, and 10 brands that are actually safe, clean, and worth eating, starting with number 35, Eggo, thick and fluffy. Eggo thick and fluffy waffles look like the perfect cozy breakfast, golden, soft, and Belgian style enough to feel fancy on a rushed morning. But that warm, comforting image masks some uncomfortable truths. Years ago, Eggo products experienced production slowdowns and shortages following a listeria-related plant shutdown, eroding confidence in the brand's quality control. While Thick and Fluffy itself wasn't the target, the event highlighted the fragility of safety checks in mass-produced frozen foods. Look closer at the ingredient list, and the problems become clearer. These waffles rely on refined flour, added sugars, processed oils, and stabilizers that create fluffiness without real nutrition behind it. There's barely any fiber, minimal protein, and enough sugar to spike energy and crash it just as fast. What feels like a hearty breakfast is really a quick hit of carbs wrapped in nostalgic marketing. For kids, older adults, or anyone trying to support gut health or steady mornings, that's a risky start to the day. Eggo Thick and Fluffy may taste like comfort, but nutritionally, it's closer to a dessert disguised as breakfast. Number 34. Great Value Frozen Waffles. Great Value frozen waffles resemble the kind of leisurely, budget-friendly breakfast you can toss into the toaster without a second thought. However, behind the convenience and low price tag, these waffles raise concerns that most shoppers overlook. In recent years, several frozen breakfast items sold under the Great Value label were pulled from shelves due to potential listeria contamination traced back to shared manufacturing facilities, an unsettling reminder of how vulnerable mass-produced frozen foods can be when safety protocols slip, even if the product itself wasn't the direct target of the recall. Beyond safety scares, the ingredient list raises its own red flags. These waffles are built on refined white flour, added sugar, low-grade vegetable oils, and synthetic leavening agents boosted with emulsifiers and stabilizers engineered to survive months in a deep freeze. The result is a breakfast item that looks golden and comforting, but offers almost no real nutrition, little protein, minimal fiber, and a fast-burning carbohydrate load that spikes energy and crashes it just as quickly. For children, this kind of empty-calorie start can lead to sluggish mornings and sugar cravings before lunch. Number 33. Market Pantry Frozen Waffles. Market Pantry Frozen Waffles seem like an easy win on rushed mornings. They're cheap, quick, and always stocked in Target's freezer aisle. But once you dig past the convenience, a different story unfolds. These waffles are produced in massive, high-speed facilities where cost efficiency often takes precedence over ingredient integrity. Instead of real grains or slow-burning energy sources, the formula relies heavily on refined flour, inexpensive oils, added sugars, and synthetic leavening agents designed to mask staleness during prolonged frozen storage. Customer complaints tell you even more. Many shoppers report waffles coming out gummy in the center, burnt on the edges, or so fragile that they crumble before leaving the toaster. Others describe a chemical aftertaste, freezer burn notes, or batches that smell off, hinting at inconsistent handling and poor quality control. Parents expecting a steady breakfast often find their kids hungry an hour later, thanks to the low fiber and quick carb crash. Number 32. Belgian Boy's Frozen Waffles. Belgian Boys markets their frozen waffles as authentic European treats, but the frozen version is far from a fresh Belgian waffle. These waffles are produced using industrial batter extrusion, not hand-mixed yeast batter. Instead of slow fermentation, which creates a real Belgian texture, the frozen waffles rely on chemical leaveners, dough stabilizers, and emulsifiers to force volume quickly. This gives them a dense, uniform chew that never recreates the airy crispness of a true Liège or Brussels waffle. To withstand months of freezing, the batter is fortified with modified starches and moisture binders, which keep the waffle from cracking in the freezer, but create that rubbery interior people often notice after toasting. The pearl sugar pieces are frequently made from compressed glucose crystals, not traditional beet sugar pearls, so they melt inconsistently and leave patchy caramelization instead of crunchy pockets. The waffles also feature preservative-treated oils and refined sweeteners, adding shelf stability but stripping away natural butter aroma. Many users complain that Belgian Boy's waffles taste flat, overly sweet, and oddly cakey, a sign of industrial formulations designed for transport, not authenticity. Despite the branding, These waffles behave more like factory-stabilized pastries than authentic Belgian-style waffles. Number 31. Kroger Value Frozen Waffles. Kroger Value frozen waffles resemble the kind of affordable, quick breakfast that saves time on busy mornings. But peel back the wrapper and toast a square, and you'll notice the first problem: texture chaos. Genuine buyers report waffles that come out stiff around the edges and soggy in the middle, a sign of rushed production and low-quality batter. Others describe a strange, papery, cardboard-like aftertaste, the type you get from ultra-processed mixes and stale grain blends. Inside the ingredient list, a lineup of refined flour, corn syrup solids, cheap vegetable oils, artificial flavors, and industrial emulsifiers. The exact cocktail nutritionists warn can spike blood sugar, trigger inflammation, and leave you hungry again in under an hour. These fillers create quick energy highs followed by sharp crashes, which can be particularly challenging for older adults or those managing glucose levels. And the quality issues don't end there. Consumers have complained about uneven coloring, burnt flecks, and waffles that crumble straight out of the sleeve, hinting at inconsistent mixing and poor quality control during manufacturing. The taste? Bland at first bite, then oddly sweet, then gone, leaving only a greasy film and zero absolute satisfaction. Number 30. Best Choice Frozen Waffles. Best Choice Frozen Waffles resemble the classic budget hack. A few bucks for a whole box, quick to toast, kid-friendly, and fuss-free. However, when you delve into what's actually inside, the picture changes rapidly. These waffles are built for cost-cutting, not nutrition, and you can taste it the moment you pull one out of the toaster. Genuine buyers say the waffles cook unevenly, with crisp edges and a gummy underdone center, the kind of texture that screams cheap batter and inconsistent mixing. Some even mention a strange, plastic-like aroma when they heat up, a red flag for ultra-processed foods that sit in freezers for months. The real problem hides in the ingredient deck: refined flour, syrup solids, artificial flavor powders, and highly processed oils. Nutrition research has repeatedly shown that ultra-processed breakfasts like this can trigger rapid blood sugar spikes, sudden energy crashes, cravings, and low satiety, especially in older adults or those with diabetes or other conditions that affect glucose levels. That hungry again in an hour feeling? That's the hidden downside of these filler-heavy formulas. And then there's the quality control. Customers complain about crumbling waffles, odd dark specks in the batter, and batches that taste metallic or chalky, suggesting rushed production lines and low-quality grain blends. Number 29. Food Lion Frozen Waffles. On the shelf, Food Lion Frozen Waffles is a dependable budget breakfast option, a simple box, quick toaster options, and a familiar grocery store brand. But what many don't notice is the compromise behind that convenience. Multiple shoppers report waffles that come out pale and collapsed, or with hard kernels still unpopped, signs of batter formula stretched too thin, and production speed prioritized over quality. Flip the package, and the ingredient list reveals the rest of the story. Enriched wheat flour, vegetable oil, corn syrup, artificial flavoring, all key phrases that echo ultra-processed food patterns. While there isn't a widely publicized recall tied directly to this line, the brand was part of a large-scale frozen waffle recall involving hundreds of products from the same manufacturing network. The point? The risk isn't always headline news. It's the hidden shortcuts in the freezer aisle bargain. Health-wise, breakfasts heavy in refined grains, added sugars, and low fiber are tied to rapid blood sugar spikes, low midday energy, digestive distress, and increased insulin demand. Market-wide studies show that ultra-processed breakfasts leave you less full and more likely to snack earlier. Number 28. Essential Everyday Waffles. Essential Everyday Waffles appear to be a bargain lover's dream. A big box, a low price, and a quick toaster breakfast. But once you look past the simple packaging, the essential part starts falling apart. Dozens of shoppers online report rubbery centers, bland taste, and waffles that burn on the outside before heating through, a classic sign of low-quality batter and inconsistent factory processing. The ingredient panel reads like an industrial checklist: enriched flour, modified cornstarch, vegetable shortening blends, added sugar, artificial flavor, and stabilizers designed to mimic texture rather than provide real nutrition. Breakfast studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that ultra-processed grains like these can trigger rapid glucose spikes, early fatigue, and increased hunger within just 2 hours, hardly the everyday fuel the name promises. While Essential Everyday hasn't been the center of a headline recall, Its products were indirectly affected during major 2024 mass recalls involving shared production facilities across multiple store-brand waffles, a reminder that cheaper brands often rely on the same high-volume factories with thin safety margins. Number 27. Meijer Classic Waffles. Meijer Classic Waffles present themselves as a simple, no-nonsense breakfast option, but the hidden truth is that classic doesn't necessarily mean clean or wholesome. Customer complaints include waffles that crumble apart, a chemical-like aftertaste, and boxes with waffles fused due to freezer handling issues, suggesting that the ingredients are humidity sensitive and of low quality. Inside the recipe, you'll find refined flour, added sugars, soybean oil, artificial flavors, and preservatives. This processed blend has more in common with snack cakes than with authentic Belgian-style waffles. Food science research from Harvard School of Public Health highlights that breakfasts high in refined carbs and low in fiber, exactly like these waffles are linked to afternoon energy crashes, poor satiety, and increased cardiometabolic strain. Meijer has faced multiple consumer complaints regarding inconsistent texture, freezer burn, and stale taste, which typically point to mass production and low-cost storage practices rather than careless manufacturing. It's not that the product is dangerous, it's just nutritionally weak and industrially made. Number 26. Chef Ernesto Waffles. Chef Ernesto Waffles show up in discount stores as an unbeatable deal. Big freezer packs at a tiny price tag. However, cheap often comes with several compromises. Many shoppers report waffles that come out dry, brittle, and unevenly cooked, with edges that burn while the center stays oddly doughy. A classic sign of low hydration batter and bulk factory processing. Look at the ingredients and you'll see why. Refined wheat flour, dextrose, hydrogenated oils, synthetic flavoring, and stabilizers meant to imitate real waffle texture. Nutrition researchers note that foods relying on these additives tend to digest extremely quickly, causing short-lived energy, increased hunger, and mid-morning crashes. Because Chef Ernesto is a low-cost private label, manufacturing is often outsourced to high-volume facilities that focus on production speed rather than formulation quality. This is why customers frequently mention chemical aftertaste, freezer burn issues, and waffles sticking together inside the packaging. Nothing illegal, just signs of a budget product stretched thin. Number 25. Clover Valley Waffles. Clover Valley, Dollar General's signature brand, promises affordability, but the waffles inside the box offer more disappointment than breakfast. Consumers often report spongy texture, bland flavor, and waffles that toast unevenly, a telltale sign of batter pumped with too many fillers and not enough real structure. Turn the box around, enriched flour, soybean oil, added sugars, artificial flavor, and emulsifiers dominate the list. A 2021 nutritional study on ultra-processed breakfast foods found that combinations like these can lead to higher blood sugar spikes, lower satiety, and increased cravings, meaning a cheap breakfast can make the rest of your day more expensive in terms of energy and appetite. While Clover Valley waffles haven't been part of any significant public recall, Dollar General products have repeatedly faced criticism for inconsistent quality control across suppliers. Review boards are full of complaints about rancid taste, freezer burn, and waffles breaking apart right out of the box, signs of long storage times and low-priority manufacturing. Visually, the waffles look perfectly ordinary. Nutritionally, they offer very little beyond empty carbs and refined oils. If you want a breakfast that actually supports energy, digestion, and fullness, Clover Valley Waffles won't provide that. Get you there. The low price tag hides the real cost of a morning meal that fills you quickly and fails you faster. Number 24. Shaw's Homestyle Waffles. Shaw's Homestyle Waffles look comforting, with soft colors, a friendly box design, and the word Homestyle boldly displayed on the front. But once you open the package, the illusion fades. Families who buy these regularly mention the same thing. Waffles that feel thin, break easily, and toast unevenly, with crisp edges but floppy centers. When you check the ingredients, you start to understand why. The recipe leans heavily on refined flour, added sugars, soybean oil, and artificial flavoring, the same industrial mix used across dozens of private label waffles. Food science research on ultra-processed breakfasts shows that this combo can leave you feeling hungry sooner, low on energy, and craving more snacks, because the body burns through these fast carbs quickly. There's nothing dangerous here, just shortcuts. Shaw's relies on large shared manufacturing plants where the priority is volume, not careful crafting. That's why many customers complain about soggy centers, bland flavor, freezer burn patches, and waffles sticking together inside the bag. Homestyle suggests warmth, real batter, and comfort. But these waffles taste more like production line speed than anything from a kitchen. If your family wants a breakfast that actually tastes like food, not filler, this box doesn't live up to the name. Number 23. Spartan Waffles. Spartan waffles carry that classic grocery store vibe. Simple, no fuss, dependable. However, behind the minimal packaging lies a product that struggles to deliver even basic waffle quality. Families report waffles that crumble, feel dry, and come out with a strange rubbery bite, as if the batter is stretched with too many stabilizers. Flip the box, and you'll see the usual culprits: enriched flour, corn syrup solids, low-grade oils, and artificial flavors. These aren't ingredients that make waffles fluffy, they make them cheap. Nutritional studies on processed breakfast foods show that meals built on refined grains and additives digest quickly, which leaves everyone, including kids, teens, and parents, feeling hungry again sooner. Another common complaint? Taste that fades halfway through the bite. Many buyers mention a flat, almost cardboard-like flavor, followed by a dull sweetness, which is the signature of low-quality flour blends and flavor powders. And because Spartan sources from large multi-brand factories, texture inconsistency is common. One waffle toasts fine, the next one comes out limp. Number 22. Western Family Waffles. Western Family Waffles look like the kind of breakfast every household grabs without thinking twice. Simple packaging, significant freezer aisle presence, and a reputation built on being reliable. However, when families actually toast these waffles, the problems become apparent quickly. Many people report waffles that come out pale, soft, and oddly chewy, even after multiple toaster cycles. Some even mention that the waffles absorb syrup instantly, turning mushy like wet bread. The ingredient list tells the real story: enriched flour, sweeteners, artificial butter flavor, and inexpensive vegetable oils. Food research on ultra-processed breakfast grains shows that formulas like this tend to leave people less full, more snack-hungry, and low on energy because they digest too quickly and offer little real fiber or structure. Another hidden issue? Inconsistent batches. Reviewers say one box tastes fine, while the next has bitter edges, freezer burn spots, or warped waffle shapes, which usually indicates that the product is being rushed through shared manufacturing facilities with cost-cutting in mind. Number 21. WinCo Frozen Waffles. WinCo is known for its bulk deals, and its frozen waffles fit the pattern. Huge boxes at a tiny price. But hidden inside that budget-friendly appeal is a waffle that feels more factory filler than family breakfast. People who buy them often mention a dry, cardboard-like texture, crumbly edges, and waffles that brown on the outside while the center stays doughy, a sign of too much starch and not enough real batter. Take a look at the ingredients and you'll see why. Refined flour, dextrose, palm oil, artificial flavor, and stabilizers that mimic texture without providing the real thing. Studies on processed breakfast food show that this mix creates quick bursts of energy followed by early hunger and sluggishness because the body burns through these simple carbs fast. Quality control is another issue. Customers report random hard spots in the waffles, uneven coloring, and a strange synthetic aftertaste that shows up especially when the waffles cool down. These are classic signs of mass production and low-cost ingredient sourcing. Nothing unsafe, just shortcuts that affect taste and texture. Number 20. Aldi Breakfast Best Waffles. Aldi's Breakfast Best Waffles are the perfect bargain. A crisp box, simple flavors, and a quick breakfast for busy families. However, the reality sets in when you toast them. The waffles brown extremely fast on the outside, while the inside remains doughy. That's a classic sign of excess added sugars. High dextrose content, which caramelizes before the waffle thoroughly heats. Food scientists note that refined sugars, such as these, brown quickly but cook slowly, a processing issue confirmed in studies on thermal food reactions published in Food Chemistry. The texture, many families report it as thin, flaky, and collapsing instantly. That happens when manufacturers rely on air-injected batter, a cost-saving technique instead of natural leavening. It creates volume, not structure, which is why the waffles feel hollow. Taste-wise, Aldi waffles often have a faint chemical sweetness, likely due to synthetic vanillin and propylene glycol monoesters, common additives used to create the illusion of a buttery flavor. These additives are considered safe, but research in the Journal of Food Additives and Contaminants shows they may contribute to digestive irritation in sensitive kids. Nutrition-wise, these waffles offer lots of fast carbs, very little fiber, and almost no sustaining protein, meaning families experience a quick energy spike followed by a mid-morning crash, exactly the blood sugar pattern carbohydrate researchers warn about. Number 19. Save-A-Lot Waffles. Save-A-Lot waffles are the definition of you get what you pay for. They look pale straight out of the box, and even after toasting, they develop uneven browning, a telltale sign of low-quality oils and uneven starch hydration during manufacturing. Families consistently complain about a rubbery center and chalky mouthfeel. That rubberizes comes from gum thickeners like guar gum and xanthan gum, which are used heavily in low-cost waffles to stabilize the batter instead of relying on eggs or natural fats. Several food science reviews, including studies cited in the International Journal of Food Science and Technology, show that gum-heavy batters can create a gelled interior after freezing. The flavor isn't much better. Many describe it as bland, stale, or freezer burnt, even when the waffles are within date. That's linked to the oxidation of vegetable oils, which accelerates when cheaper packaging fails to block oxygen effectively. Once oils oxidize, they produce a faint paint-like smell, something customers have repeatedly mentioned in reviews. Nutritionally, Save-A-Lot waffles lean heavily on refined flour, corn syrup solids, and artificial flavor blends, a combination researchers associate with higher glycemic spikes and lower satiety. Number 18. Harris Teeter Value Waffles. Harris Teeter's Value Waffles appear completely harmless, a simple box, a budget price, and a family-friendly image. But toast a couple, and you'll notice the issue instantly. The waffles toast unevenly, with the edges turning crusty while the center stays limp. That's a sign of overuse of low-grade emulsifiers, which prevent proper moisture distribution. Texture complaints are common. Parents describe them as spongy and strangely elastic. That elastic bite comes from methyl cellulose, a plant-derived binder used in cheap products to mimic real egg structure. According to the Journal of Food Hydrocolloids, methyl cellulose gels when heated, which explains the rubbery, almost gummy texture of the chew. The flavor is another subtle warning. Many families say these waffles have a chemical buttery smell, which typically comes from acetoin and artificial diacetyl substitutes. While legal, food processing research from toxicology reports shows that repeated inhalation of heated artificial butter vapors can irritate the airways, which is not ideal for kids hovering by the toaster. Nutritionally, these waffles offer almost nothing long-lasting. High glycemic starch, little fiber, and less than 2 grams of protein per serving. That combination leads to a rapid glucose spike followed by a crash, the exact pattern carbohydrate researchers associate with mid-morning fatigue in children. Number 17. Hy-Vee Value Waffles. Hy-Vee's Value Waffles try to compete in the low-price aisle, but the cost-cutting shows from the first bite. Families consistently complain about an oddly dry, sandy texture, which comes from overprocessed, bleached flour and the addition of calcium salts used to strengthen weak batter mixtures. The Journal of Cereal Science notes that these additives often create a dry crumble effect once heated, precisely what you taste here. The waffles also carry a faint metallic aftertaste. That's usually caused by sodium aluminum phosphate, a low-cost leavening agent used in discount waffles. When the formula isn't balanced, it leaves a tin-like taste after toasting, a characteristic that customers repeatedly mention. Structurally, these waffles tend to fall apart when covered in syrup. That's because the batter contains minimal natural fats, relying instead on vegetable shortening and thickening gums. Food technologists explain that fat-reduced frozen waffles tend to absorb syrup too fast, collapsing like wet cardboard. Number 16. Publix Economy Waffles. Publix usually delivers decent store-brand quality, but their economy waffles are the exception. These waffles are extremely thin and brittle, snapping apart even before they hit the toaster. That brittleness is caused by low-protein flour, which lacks the gluten strength needed for structure. A study in the Food Structure Journal shows that low-protein grain bases make frozen waffles far more prone to breakage and dryness, exactly what Publix buyers complain about. After toasting, you'll notice another red flag. The center turns papery and dry, even with light browning. That happens when the batter uses high ratios of dextrose, which caramelizes too quickly, pulling moisture out of the waffle as it heats. Flavor-wise, Publix Economy has a flat, almost air-like taste, relying heavily on artificial vanilla blends. These synthetic aromatics trick your nose but not your tongue, and food sensory research confirms that aroma-only flavorings create a hollow sweetness effect, the exact issue people describe. Some families also report the waffles developing a stale or freezer-like odor even before expiration. This is a packaging flaw. The thin wrapping allows lipid oxidation of the low-quality oils used in the batter. Once oils oxidize, they create faint paint-like notes, especially after heating. Number 15. Lucky Leaf Frozen Waffles. Lucky Leaf tries to market its waffles as light, simple, and family-friendly. But the moment they hit the toaster, you see the problem. The waffles puff too quickly and collapse just as fast. That's classic of batter made with excess leavening salts and almost no structural protein. According to research published in the Journal of Food Engineering, weak gluten networks, combined with strong leaveners, create fragile, airy pockets that collapse under heat, which is precisely this waffle's signature flaw. Texture-wise, these waffles have a styrofoam-like crunch on the outside and a soft, spongy interior. Families often complain that they disintegrate the second syrup touches them. That's caused by low-fat, high-starch formulas which absorb liquid instantly. Flavor-wise, Lucky Leaf waffles taste artificially sweet with a chemical fruit note, even when it's the plain flavor. That comes from ethyl maltol, a cheap sweetness enhancer often used to simulate the aroma of a warm bakery. Nutritionally, they're mostly fast carbs, stabilizers, and added sugars, meaning kids spike in energy and crash hard. A pattern carbohydrate researchers repeatedly warn about in studies on low-fiber breakfast foods. Number 14. Shurfine Frozen Waffles. Shurfine is a brand built on affordability, but their frozen waffles reveal the real cost. They're filler-heavy, flavor-light, and structurally inconsistent. Families describe them as thick but empty, which makes sense. The batter relies on modified starches that create bulk without nutrition. The International Journal of Food Science and Nutrition notes that such starches increase volume but decrease satiety, meaning kids are hungry again within an hour. When toasted, Shurfine waffles often develop burn spots on the grid lines, a sign of uneven sugar distribution. That happens when manufacturers use reconstituted syrups and maltodextrin instead of real sugar for even caramelization. The taste? Very mild, almost hollow, with a faint cardboard-like dryness. That dryness is linked to poor moisture retention after freezing, usually seen in low-fat, gum-stabilized batters. Once heated, the waffles go from frozen to dehydrated in seconds. Another complaint: a subtle, plastic-like smell after toasting. Food packaging studies show that this happens when low-quality wrappers allow oil migration, meaning the fats in the waffle absorb odors from the packaging. Nutritionally, Shurfine waffles offer little to the table, with low protein content, a high glycemic load, and artificial aromatics instead of real ingredients. Number 13. Valu Time Waffles. Valu Time waffles sit at the lowest price point on the shelf, and unfortunately, the quality matches the cost. Pick one up frozen, and you'll notice it's unusually pale, thin, and brittle, a sign of low-protein flour and minimal fat, both crucial for structure. Once toasted, these waffles often become dry discs with almost no internal softness. Food scientists explain that batter without egg-based emulsifiers tends to dry into a cracker-like texture during baking and freezing, a problem highlighted in research from the Journal of Food Texture Studies. Flavor-wise, Valu Time waffles taste starchy, bland, and slightly metallic. That metallic edge comes from sodium aluminum phosphate, a cheap leavening agent known for leaving behind tin-like notes when used in high quantities. Families also report that these waffles stick to the inside of the toaster, flaking apart and leaving crumbs everywhere. That's because the waffle grid lacks proper batter spread, meaning the batter was poured inconsistently during production. Nutritionally, these waffles are almost all refined carbs with minimal fiber, and studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that these kinds of breakfasts lead to sharper blood sugar spikes and faster energy crashes, especially in kids. Number 12. Always Save Frozen Waffles. Always Save lives up to its name in one way only: the price. Everything else, texture, taste, nutrition, feels like a cost-cutting experiment. Toast one, and you'll notice how fast the edges harden while the middle stays oddly chewy. That uneven heating is characteristic of waffles made with low-grade starch blends instead of a genuine batter structure. Food technologists note in the Journal of Cereal Science that starch-heavy formulas lose moisture rapidly, resulting in the exact crispy, rubbery core effect. The flavor? Practically non-existent. Many families describe it as tasting like warm cardboard with a hint of sugar. That's what happens when a waffle relies on maltodextrin and artificial vanillin, sweet on the nose, but empty on the tongue. The bigger issue is quality control. Boxes often arrive with warped, cracked, or misshapen waffles, a production flaw resulting from inconsistent batter aeration. When batter density varies, waffles cook unevenly on the industrial griddle, and it shows. Nutritionally, Always Save waffles offer fast-burning carbs, almost zero fiber, and barely a gram of protein. The exact breakfast pattern the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition links to blood sugar spikes and mid-morning energy crashes in both kids and adults. Number 11. Parade frozen waffles. Parade waffles look cheerful on the shelf, but toast them once and the truth comes out. They dry out instantly. The grid becomes brittle and flaky, which is textbook behavior of waffles made with bleached flour stripped of natural oils. Research published in Food Chemistry shows that over-refined flour accelerates moisture loss during heating, precisely what's happening here. Consumers often complain about a chalky aftertaste, which is caused by the addition of calcium salts used to fortify inexpensive flour. In small amounts, it's harmless. In waffles like these, it leaves a mineral, powdery coating in your mouth. Texture-wise, Parade waffles have a fragile, airy crumb that collapses under syrup. That's because the batter relies on extra leavening agents instead of natural fats, creating bubbles instead of structure. The result is waffles that look fluffy but fall apart like wet paper. The scent is another subtle warning, a faint, plastic-like aroma that develops after heating. That usually comes from heat-sensitive packaging films used in low-cost store brands. When stored for months, frozen oils absorb packaging odors, a flaw highlighted in food storage studies. Number 10. Millville frozen waffles. Millville waffles are often marketed as Aldi's more premium line, but don't let the clean packaging fool you. Toast one, and you'll get a waffle that's crispy outside and oddly spongy inside, a texture created when manufacturers add soluble corn fiber emulsifiers to stretch the batter. Studies in the International Journal of Food Science and Technology note these additives create an unnatural bounce, precisely what families complain about with Millville. Flavor-wise, these waffles lean heavily on fake maple and synthetic vanilla notes, which give aroma but not depth. That hollow sweetness is caused by ethyl vanillin, one of the cheapest flavor substitutes on the market. Another issue is that the waffles tend to burn unevenly, especially along the edges. That reveals a problem with inconsistent sugar distribution in the batter, often caused by using reconstituted syrups instead of real sugar for uniformity. Families also point out that the waffles absorb syrup like a sponge, turning soggy within seconds. That's because the batter has very low fat content, and fat is what creates moisture resistance in traditional waffles. Nutrition-wise, Millville waffles are still mostly fast-digesting carbs, meaning a quick burst of energy followed by a crash, a pattern well documented in glycemic response studies. Number 9. Pantry Pride waffles. Pantry Pride waffles sound wholesome, but toast one and you'll see the real story. The waffle browns too fast, almost scorching along the edges, while the center barely heats. That happens when manufacturers rely heavily on added sugars and caramelization enhancers, a shortcut documented in the Journal of Thermal Food Science, where fast browning equals poor internal cooking. Texture complaints are common. Families say these waffles feel crumbly and dusty. That dryness comes from low-moisture bleached flour, a cheap base known to lose hydration during freezing. Flavor-wise, Pantry Pride waffles have an oddly flat, papery taste because the brand uses high levels of filler starches that mute natural flavors. Food sensory research shows that these starches create a neutralized palate, meaning everything tastes bland, regardless of the topping. Another issue is that these waffles often become stale tasting before their expiration date. That's a red flag for lipid oxidation, which occurs when low-quality oils inside the waffle break down over time, a process proven in shelf-life studies involving frozen baked goods. Number 8. Homestyle Quick Heat Waffles. Homestyle Quick Heat waffles are designed for convenience, but that's exactly where the quality problems start. These waffles toast in seconds, which sounds great, but food scientists warn that ultra-fast heating usually means the product is full of thin batter and inflated air pockets, rather than real structure. Families consistently report that these waffles are hollow, brittle, and flavorless. That hollow feeling is caused by over-leavened batter. a technique used in cheap frozen waffles to make them look thick while staying empty inside. The Journal of Food Structure confirms that this results in waffles that collapse the moment pressure is applied, like these do. Flavor-wise, quick heat waffles have a sharp, artificial sweetness that lingers. That's from acesulfame K and synthetic flavor esters, often used in ultra-cheap breakfast foods to mimic home-cooked sweetness without real sugars. Number 7. Food Club Frozen Waffles. Food Club waffles look more legit than many budget brands, but the problems show up once you bite into one. The waffle has a distinctly rubbery texture, which is caused by a heavy reliance on xanthan gum and modified cellulose fibers. A study in the International Journal of Gastronomy and Food Science notes that gum-thickened batter creates a bouncy, artificial mouthfeel, exactly like Food Club. The flavor is equally unusual. Parents say these waffles have a synthetic, plasticky smell of vanilla. That odor often comes from vanillin and packaging migration, meaning the oils inside the waffle absorb chemical notes from the wrapper, a flaw common in lower-tier brands. The color is another giveaway. Even after toasting, the waffles remain pale and uneven, which food quality experts attribute to a poor Maillard reaction caused by their low protein content. Without protein, the waffle can't brown naturally, no matter how long you toast it. Worse yet, these waffles cool down in under a minute, turning stiff and dry almost instantly. That's because low-fat, high-starch waffles lose heat rapidly, a process validated in food texture research on frozen bakery items. Food Club isn't the worst waffle on shelves, but it's absolutely not the reliable breakfast the packaging suggests. Number 6. Great American Frozen Waffles. Great American frozen waffles look perfectly normal in the box, golden, crisp, and comforting. However, once you heat them, the hidden issues begin to surface. These waffles rely heavily on bleached, enriched flour, which loses much of its natural fiber and minerals during processing. Studies published in the Journal of Food Composition and Analysis show that bleached flour spikes blood glucose faster and digests unevenly, leaving both adults and kids hungry again within an hour. The batter formula contains palm oil, soybean oil, and emulsifier blends designed to extend shelf life, but these oils oxidize quickly when heated at high temperatures. Oxidized oils have been associated with inflammation and off flavors, explaining the faint, plastic-like aftertaste many consumers report online. Texture-wise, these waffles often turn gummy in the center because the leavening agents, monocalcium phosphate and sodium aluminum sulfate, release gases unevenly, creating hollow pockets instead of a consistent crumb. Number 5. Springfield Waffles. Springfield waffles appear to be a no-frills, budget-friendly breakfast, but inside the box, there's more filler than food. The base formula uses highly refined wheat flour mixed with cornstarch, which gives it a quick browning effect, but strips away essential nutrients. Food scientists, as noted in the Cereal Chemistry Journal, observe that starch-loaded batters tend to form a brittle crust and a dry, hollow interior, which is precisely the texture that buyers frequently complain about. The sweet flavor you notice? Mostly from added dextrose and artificial vanilla esters, which break down under heat and leave a slightly bitter aftertaste. These waffles also rely on cheap, hydrogenated shortenings to hold their structure, and although still legal, hydrogenated fats have been linked to elevated LDL levels even in small doses. Springfield waffles also tend to stick to the toaster grates, a sign of insufficient oil distribution in the batter. This typically occurs when manufacturers modify the formula to reduce production costs. For families who want a consistent, nourishing breakfast, these waffles are more air than substance. They fill the plate, not the body. Number 4. Mom's Best Frozen Waffles. The name Mom's Best suggests homemade comfort, but these waffles are far from anything a real mom would whip up. They use a heavy blend of preservatives, such as sodium acid pyrophosphate, to extend freezer life. Research in food additives and contaminants links excessive phosphate consumption to potential mineral imbalances in children and teens. The waffle interior tends to come out chewy and damp because the batter relies on low-cost binders, primarily modified cornstarch and cellulose powder. These ingredients absorb moisture unpredictably, which is why your waffle sometimes comes out crisp on the edges but soggy in the middle. The sweetness is artificial primarily, with ethyl vanillin, a lab-made flavor that leaves a sharp, perfume-like finish. Parents choosing this brand for convenience may be surprised to find that these waffles are actually quite nutrient-poor. Low protein, minimal fiber, and high added sugars make them a weak breakfast choice for energetic kids. Marketing may say mom approved, but nutritionally, This one doesn't pass the real mom test. Number 3. Value Corner Waffles. Value Corner waffles are one of the lowest cost options on the shelf, and unfortunately, the quality reflects that price tag. These waffles rely on an ultra-processed blend of refined flour, artificial sweeteners, and synthetic leavening agents, resulting in a structure that browns quickly but collapses rapidly after toasting. Food engineers explain that when leavening agents like sodium aluminum phosphate dominate the mix, waffles turn pale inside and rubbery outside, precisely the issue buyers frequently describe. The flavor is surprisingly flat because the product uses imitation butter compounds instead of real dairy. When heated, these compounds volatilize and create a faint chemical butter aroma. According to research in food chemistry, artificial butter esters degrade rapidly at toaster temperatures, which is why Value Corner waffles initially taste strong but fade to bland cardboard halfway through. Number 2. First Street Frozen Waffles. First Street frozen waffles look harmless, but the moment you toast one, the problems start revealing themselves. These waffles use a heavy dose of modified wheat starch to bulk up the batter, which food scientists in the Journal of Food Hydrocolloids note can create a spongy, foam-like texture instead of the crisp bite families expect. That's why First Street waffles often feel soft on the outside but oddly elastic inside, almost like they're bouncing back when you press them. The flavor is another red flag. Many buyers describe a faint chemical butter smell, which comes from imitation butter esters, synthetic flavor molecules that break down when heated. According to food chemistry, these compounds lose stability during toasting, creating bitter or plasticky notes. Even the browning is inconsistent. Sometimes the waffle burns on the edges while staying pale in the center. That uneven color is a sign of low-protein flour, the kind used in extremely cheap processed foods, where the Maillard reaction, a natural browning process, can't happen properly. Number 1. Signature Kitchens Waffles. Signature Kitchens Waffles try hard to look like an upscale store brand. But inside the box is a formula built on stabilizers, gums, and artificial flavor bases. The interior often turns sticky and doughy because the batter relies heavily on xanthan gum and guar gum, which thicken unevenly after freezing. A study in the International Journal of Food Science and Technology confirms that gum-heavy batters retain moisture poorly, which is why these waffles go from crisp to soggy in under a minute. The sweetness tastes off because the brand uses ethyl vanillin, a synthetic flavoring much sharper than real vanilla. When heated, it produces a perfume-like aroma that families frequently complain about online. Texture-wise, Signature Kitchens waffles can feel dense and weighty, a sign of under-aerated batter. Manufacturers sometimes reduce the amount of leavening gas to cut costs, which results in waffles that appear thick but are heavy and chewy, more like a sweet bread slice than a waffle. And the oils? Mostly low-grade canola and soybean blends, known to oxidize during storage. Oxidized oils are linked with staleness, bitterness, and that flat old pantry aftertaste. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. Not every frozen waffle is a sugar-packed imposter. Some brands are actually simple, clean, and made with real ingredients. Such as, number 10, Kodiak Cakes Power Waffles. Kodiak Cakes Power Waffles are one of the few frozen waffles that actually deliver real nutrition without hiding anything. Made with 100% whole grains, these waffles digest more slowly, giving steady energy instead of the sugar spikes caused by refined flour. Research in nutritional journals indicates that entire grains support better satiety, gut health, and blood sugar balance, making these waffles a strong choice for active families. Kodiak also uses egg, whey protein, and oat flour, which create a hearty, naturally satisfying texture without artificial stabilizers. When toasted, they brown evenly because real grains caramelize properly, producing a warm, nutty aroma. There are no artificial flavors, synthetic dyes, or hydrogenated oils here. Just a clean ingredient list that feels close to homemade. With 10 to 12 grams of protein per serving, these waffles support growing kids, busy parents, and anyone who wants a more nourishing breakfast. Number 9. Van's Gluten-Free Waffles. Van's gluten-free waffles are one of the safest options for families avoiding gluten without sacrificing authentic flavor. Made from brown rice flour, potato starch, and millet, they create a crisp, light texture that doesn't rely on gums or synthetic binders. Studies on gluten-free grains have shown that they provide easy digestion and reduce inflammation for individuals sensitive to wheat. Van's keeps ingredients extremely clean. No artificial preservatives, no artificial colors, no high fructose sweeteners, and no hydrogenated oils. Instead, they use mild, neutral oils like safflower or expeller-pressed canola, which hold up well during toasting without harsh aftertastes. The flavor is naturally mild with a gentle sweetness, making them perfect for kids who prefer simple breakfasts. They stay crisp longer than many gluten-free brands, thanks to a balanced starch blend backed by food science testing. Number 8. Birch Benders Waffles. Birch Benders Waffles elevate the frozen waffle game with their grain-free and paleo-friendly options, crafted from almond flour, cassava, and coconut, all ingredients renowned for their higher nutrient density. Almond flour provides natural protein and healthy fats, while cassava creates that light, crisp bite without synthetic stabilizers. These waffles avoid artificial sweeteners, gums, preservatives, or hydrogenated oils, leaning instead on simple ingredients that behave well under heat. Food science studies show that nut-based flours brown naturally and retain moisture, which is why these waffles stay tender inside and crisp outside. Flavor-wise, Birch Benders waffles taste subtly sweet and buttery without chemical aftertastes. They are also easier on digestion compared to refined grain waffles, thanks to their low glycemic grain-free formula. For families seeking a more natural, clean, and modern breakfast option without fillers, Birch Benders is one of the safest and smartest choices. Number 7. Nature's Path Organic Waffles. Nature's Path is one of the most trustworthy frozen waffle brands because every ingredient is USDA certified organic, meaning it is free from synthetic pesticides, GMOs, and artificial preservatives. The waffles use whole grain flours like spelt, buckwheat, and quinoa, all of which have been shown in nutrition research to support better fiber intake and digestive health. The texture is crisp but hearty, with a naturally earthy flavor that comes from real grains, not artificial flavors. These waffles toast evenly because they rely on natural leavening and balanced moisture, not chemical stabilizers. Nature's Path also uses unrefined oils, such as sunflower or sustainably sourced palm, which maintain quality when heated. Their ingredient lists are short, clean, and easy to read, a rare thing in the frozen aisle. Number 6. 365 Organic Whole Grain Waffles. 365 organic whole grain waffles from Whole Foods stay true to what a safe breakfast should be: simple ingredients, whole grains, and no chemical shortcuts. These waffles use organic whole wheat flour, which provides natural fiber and slower digestion, something nutrition science consistently links to better energy and satiety for families. They also skip artificial flavors, preservatives, synthetic dyes, and hydrogenated oils. Instead, the batter relies on organic expeller-pressed oils, which hold their structure well during high heat without developing off flavors. When toasted, the waffles brown evenly and develop a warm, grainy aroma that comes only from real whole grain caramelization. The texture is hearty yet light, making it perfect for kids who need something filling without being too heavy. Number 5. Kashi 7-Grain Waffles. Kashi 7-Grain Waffles are a favorite among families who want nutrient-dense breakfasts without additives. Built on a blend of 7 whole grains, including oats, buckwheat, barley, and rye, these waffles provide slow-release energy, supported by studies that show whole grain diversity improves gut health and nutrient absorption. The texture is hearty but crisp, with a naturally nutty flavor that doesn't require artificial enhancements. Kashi avoids preservatives and artificial sweeteners, using only recognizable, minimally processed ingredients. The grain blend creates a naturally balanced browning pattern because real cereal fibers caramelize in the toaster, a phenomenon explained in food chemistry research. Plus, the waffles contain plant-based protein and higher fiber than most brands, making them great for lunchboxes or quick family breakfasts. Number 4. Trader Joe's Multigrain Waffles. Trader Joe's multigrain waffles provide a clean and reliable breakfast with a simple formula built on whole grains, including oats, millet, and barley. This blend gives the waffle a naturally crisp exterior and warm, nutty aroma, without relying on artificial flavors. Food science studies show that multigrain batters maintain moisture better, which explains why these waffles stay fluffy inside instead of drying out like cheaper brands. Trader Joe's avoids synthetic preservatives, chemical sweeteners, and low-grade oils. Instead, they use non-GMO ingredients and stable oils that resist oxidation during freezing and toasting. Families like these waffles because they're mild enough for kids but satisfying for adults, especially with fruit or nut butter. They also offer more fiber than typical frozen waffles, making them a smart, everyday option. Number 3. Julian's Recipe. Julian's recipe, Belgian waffles, feel more like a bakery treat than a frozen food, but the ingredient list keeps things surprisingly clean. These waffles use real butter, cage-free eggs, and unbleached flour, giving them a rich flavor and natural browning without artificial colors or lab-made flavors. The key difference is their yeast-raised batter, a technique used in authentic Belgian waffles. Food science reveals that yeast fermentation enhances aroma, texture, and digestibility, which is why these waffles taste airy, crisp, and naturally sweet. Julian's recipe avoids preservatives and artificial sweeteners, relying on slow fermentation and simple, high-quality ingredients. They also use stable oils and natural leavening, which helps maintain consistent texture even after freezing. Number 2. Annie's Organic Waffles. Annie's Organic Waffles are one of those rare frozen options that actually feel like real food. The ingredient list is short, organic, and made with whole grains, containing no artificial preservatives, synthetic flavors, or dyes. Annie's uses organic whole wheat and unbleached flour, which provides steady energy rather than the blood sugar spikes often associated with refined grains. Food science research shows that minimally processed grains retain more vitamins, fiber, and natural antioxidants, which support better digestion and satiety for both kids and adults. These waffles toast evenly and develop a warm, subtly sweet aroma because the batter relies on natural grain caramelization instead of chemical flavor oils. Parents love Annie's because the taste is clean and not overly salty or sugary, making it an excellent base for fruit, nut butter, or a little syrup. If you're looking for a trustworthy, everyday organic waffle, Annie's is one of the safest options available. Number 1. Good and Gather Organic Waffles. Target's Good and Gather Organic Waffles offer a clean, dependable breakfast with ingredients you can recognize at a glance. They use organic whole grains, non-GMO ingredients, and expeller-pressed oils, which hold up well during high-heat toasting without producing the oxidized compounds often found in cheaper hydrogenated oils. Their texture is light yet sturdy, and the flavor comes from actual grains, not synthetic butter flavor or artificial sweeteners. Nutrition studies highlight that whole grain breakfasts help support better appetite control and digestion, which makes these waffles a safer choice for families trying to avoid ultra-processed additives. Good and Gather also avoids high sodium levels, artificial dyes, and chemical preservatives. This gives the waffles a natural crispness and clean aftertaste instead of the waxy, oily feel found in low-tier store brands.